Did you know that salt has notable spiritual implications that make it truly precious? What unfathomable secrets lie behind the simple substance of salt, transforming it into an element of profound sacredness and inestimable value in the eyes of the soul that seeks the truth in the mysteries of the universe? Salt is not just a simple seasoning to use in the kitchen. Did you know that it can bring with it benefits for both the body and the spirit, capable of giving inner peace? Perhaps you have never imagined that this simple element that we use in preparing food in the kitchen is actually a precious gift for our physical health and our mental well-being. Then you absolutely must listen to the Zen story we are about to tell you. Buddhists consider salt a sacred element and use it in various purification and protection rituals. If you persevere to the end of this recording, you will be guided on a captivating adventure to discover 7 salt ceremonies that can radically transform your existence. So, stay with us and find out what happens if you use salt this way. Furthermore, in the second part of the video, we will talk, by popular request from many subscribers to the channel, about the ancient ritual of putting salt in your shoes. But before continuing, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to stay updated when we publish new content for your spiritual growth. The sun sank lazily on the horizon, painting the walls of the Buddhist monastery where the elderly monk Shinzo lived pink. The disciples, wrapped in their typical clothes, gathered around their mentor, known for his wisdom and his profound knowledge of the human soul. An expectant silence pervaded the air, while the melodious song of the birds mixed with the rustling of the wind among the leaves. Master Shinzo asked one of the disciples, "We have heard that salt has enormous benefits for the body and the spirit, and many talk about the ancient ritual of putting salt in your shoes to find emotional balance and inner peace. But many people are skeptical of these stories, while we know that each element has its own balance and benefits. Could you enlighten us on the Buddhist view of salt and its spiritual meanings for the body and spirit?" A smile lit up the master's wrinkled face. "Salt, dear disciple," he replied in a calm voice, "is a precious gift of nature, often unjustly denigrated. Especially in the West, for example, they believed for years that it was very harmful to health. In reality, like the waves of the sea crashing on the shore, salt regulates the rhythm of our body and nourishes our soul. And even the latest medical research has shown that it is not as harmful as many thought. The important thing, as in all things in life, is to use it sparingly. Balance, in fact, must always be at the center of our choices and the way we use whatever remedy exists in nature." After this introduction, and after observing the interest in the faces of his disciples, Shinzo began to narrate the 7 beneficial properties of salt, intertwining stories, legends, and teachings. "Imagine the body as an orchestra," Shinzo said to begin, "where each instrument plays in harmony. Salt regulates the flow of liquids like a skilled conductor, ensuring the perfect balance of minerals that allows the cells to dance in symphony." Shinzo told the legend of an old monk who, lost in the desert, had survived thanks to a pinch of salt. "Salt," he explained, "is like an elixir of life that keeps the body in balance, allowing us to overcome even the most arduous challenges." Once upon a time, a monk named Kobo was on a pilgrimage journey through the snow-capped mountains of Japan. Shinzo continued. He was exhausted and hungry, and his food supplies were running low. Now exhausted, he collapsed to the ground, ready to give up. But just then, Kobo noticed a small grain of salt shining on the snow that had been lost by a trader who had passed by. Kobo picked it up and dissolved it in his mouth, and immediately felt a wave of energy pervade his body. That pinch of salt, re-establishing the electrolyte balance of his organism, allowed him to continue his journey and reach his destination. What would have happened if that monk had not discovered that grain of salt? The monk asked rhetorically. Perhaps he would never have found the strength to continue the journey. Perhaps he would have died there. While the disciples listened with great interest to their master's words, Shinzo continued by talking about mental well-being and emotional balance. A pinch of salt, he said, promotes mental stability, allowing us to meditate with depth and clarity. Like a beacon in the night, salt illuminates the mind and facilitates concentration. Shinzo described the practice of salt meditation, a method for calming the mind and achieving inner peace. Salt, he said, like an anchor, helps us stay focused in the present and navigate the sea of our mind with serenity. You should know that once, in the quiet of the monastery, a young monk named Rilkan was tormented by restless thoughts that haunted him day and night. Desperate, he turned to me for help. I advised him to meditate with salt, holding a small container of salt in front of him and concentrating on its consistency and color. Rilkan followed the advice, and day after day, his mind calmed and his thoughts became clearer. Thanks to the salt, Rilkan found inner peace and was able to continue his spiritual journey with renewed serenity. Shinzo then told the story of a monk who, thanks to a balanced diet rich in salt, regained vigor and vitality. Salt, he explained, helps digest food and assimilate nutrients, giving us the energy needed for our spiritual journey. The master told the metaphor of the body as a temple. Salt, he said, is like a sacred offering that nourishes the temple of the body, allowing it to function at its best and reach its highest expression. Salt, Shinzo continued solemnly, symbol of purification and rebirth, reminds us that we are part of the great flow of the universe. Every grain invites us to live with gratitude and awareness. And to make this concept better understood, he recounted the ancient ritual of purification with salt, a method to free oneself from negativity and be reborn to a new life. Salt, he explained, like a flowing river, purifies the body and spirit, allowing us to embrace the new with an open mind. In the Buddhist tradition, he added, salt is used to purify sacred environments and objects. In an ancient ritual, monks sprinkle salt on the temple floor, creating a purification mandala. Subsequently, they walk on the salt, letting it absorb the impurities and negativities that each of us carries with us. At the end of the ritual, the salt is thrown away because, symbolically, it brings with it the negativity accumulated by people. While the disciples took notes, understanding how important salt was, Shinzo continued by talking about another important aspect related to this element. Salt, he said in a quiet voice, not only preserves food, but it also preserves our energy and helps us transform negativity into positivity. The master told the parable of a farmer who, thanks to salt, had managed to preserve his harvest during a very harsh winter. Salt, he explained, has the property of preserving foods, and for this reason it is used to preserve fish and meat. Furthermore, my dears, it is like a talisman that protects our body and spirit from the dangers of time. Its conservation function, therefore, is both physical and spiritual. At this point in the story, Shinzo also described the ancient practice of putting salt in shoes, a ritual to purify the body and spirit and to protect oneself from negative energies. Salt, he said, like a magic filter, absorbs negativity and helps us walk lightly towards the light. An ancient tale tells the story of a monk who, during a journey into wild lands, found himself crossing an unsafe stone bridge. The wind was blowing fiercely and the rain was pounding hard, making the passage extremely risky. The monk, aware of the danger, stopped and took a handful of salt from his pockets. He spread it across the deck, creating a rougher, more stable surface. And thanks to the salt, he was able to cross the bridge safely and continue his journey. This example, my dears, illustrates just one of the many uses of salt in shoes, a practice rich in both physical and spiritual meanings. Master Shinzo asked a curious disciple, "Can you tell us what the specific benefits of putting salt in your shoes are?" Shinzo, smiling, replied, "From a physical point of view, salt helps absorb moisture. In humid climates or during long walks, the salt in your shoes helps prevent the formation of fungi and bacteria, which can cause irritation and bad odors. Then, it reduces friction by creating a barrier between the skin and the shoe, preventing the formation of blisters and calluses. And it also softens the skin. Salt, in fact, has exfoliating properties that help remove dead cells and make the skin softer. But it doesn't end there, continued the monk. Putting salt in your shoes has important spiritual implications. Salt, as we have already said, is considered a very powerful element of purification and protection. It absorbs negative energies and purifies the aura of the body and spirit. Furthermore, it creates a barrier against negative energies and evil spirits. Master, can you give us other examples of this ritual? A disciple asked while everyone was eager to know more and more. An ancient Buddhist ritual involves putting salt in your shoes before embarking on an important journey, replied Shinzo, pleased with the interest in this topic. This ritual helps protect the traveler from negativity and guarantee him a safe and peaceful journey. On a symbolic level, those who undertake a journey always feel the need to be protected. And the salt in your shoes can become a sort of protective talisman that no one sees but silently protects us. Salt in your shoes, dear disciples, is a simple practice but full of benefits. As you have seen, it not only helps keep your feet healthy and comfortable, but also has deep spiritual meaning. The disciples, given their young age, wondered how to put this ritual into practice. Putting salt in your shoes, they thought, must not be so convenient. Shinzo, as if he had read their minds, continued his lesson by talking about this controversial aspect that created confusion in many people. You know, over time, many people who want to carry out this ritual have asked me many questions. Should we use the thin one or the thick one? And again, how do we prevent the salt in our shoes from bothering us? You should know that to perform this ritual, you will need coarse salt. This is because, compared to the thin one, it has a greater ability to absorb humidity and negative energies. Take a spoon to measure out the salt, and then choose the shoes that you wear most often or that you will take with you on an important trip. At this point, put the salt in both shoes, distributing it evenly on the sole, and walk for a few minutes to allow the salt to distribute well. Master Shinzo, the disciples asked, how many times must we repeat this ritual? Whenever you feel the need to purify and protect your body and your spirit, whenever you are undertaking an important journey, or if you have a particularly stressful or negative day, the master replied serenely. But there's another thing that many people like to do and that you could do too. Put salt in your shoes in the evening before going to sleep. In this way, the salt has all might to act, purify the shoes, and consequently, trigger the symbolic and spiritual mechanisms we are talking about. Shinzo, after talking about the shoe ritual, described the practice of meditation with salt, a method for calming the mind and achieving inner peace. Salt, he said, like an anchor, helps us stay focused in the present and navigate the sea of our mind with serenity. The master told the story of a monk who, thanks to meditation with salt, had managed to overcome his fears and achieve enlightenment. Salt, he explained, is like a silent teacher who teaches us to cultivate concentration and contemplate the beauty of the present. A young monk named Satori was tormented by doubts and fears that hindered his spiritual progress. Desperate, he turned to Master Shinzo for help. The master advised him to meditate with salt, holding a small container of salt in front of him and observing it carefully. Satori followed his master's advice, and day after day, his mind calmed down and his doubts dissolved. Thanks to salt, Satori achieved inner peace and achieved the enlightenment he had longed for a long time. And as the disciples continued to listen with great interest, Shinzo revealed another ancient ritual, that of using salt together with fire to purify one's homes. My children, fire, as you know, is a powerful element that symbolizes light, transformation, and purification. Through this ritual, we will be able to free ourselves from negative energies and purify the environments in which you live. To carry out this ritual, You need white or blue candles, a censer with incense, a fire-resistant container, and some aromatic herbs such as sage, rosemary, bay leaves, or juniper. First, we open the windows of the room to be purified to allow the air to circulate. Then we light the candles and incense. At this point, we put the aromatic herbs in the container and start burning them. We walk around the room with the steaming container, stopping in every corner and every point that we feel the need to purify. We visualize the flame and smoke absorbing negative energies and purifying the environment. When we are finished, we let the candles and incense go out by themselves. A follower asked how often he should repeat this ritual, and Shinzo replied, "You can perform the fire purification ritual whenever you feel the need to make your environment pure, be it your home or your place of work." This way represents a simple but effective approach to establishing a more harmonious environment and promoting your overall well-being. Remember, my children, that purification is a continuous process. It is important to take care not only of our physical body, but also of our energy body. And the ritual of purification with fire is, as Shinzo felt, enriched, since they had discovered that this modest element, often overlooked, held within itself a precious value, capable of nourishing the body, strengthening the mind, and purifying the spirit. From that moment on, they began to use salt following these 7 approaches in order to fully exploit its extraordinary properties on both the physical and spiritual level, a precious tool that can help us on this path. When the stars began to shine in the night sky, Shinzo's followers felt enriched, since they had discovered that this modest element, often overlooked, held within itself a precious value, capable of nourishing the body, strengthening the mind, and purifying the spirit.